Last Friday, the Supreme Court handed down their ruling on President Trump's tariffs. That's at least the way the legacy media wanted their dwindling audience to see it. The Supreme Court ruled against President Trump's tariffs, and now the entire world was scrambling to get their money back and all that. Well, as it turns out, that is actually not what happened last week, and the legacy media and their dwindling audience are learning that reality the hard way. What the Supreme Court actually ruled was that President Trump could not use what's called the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, that's the IEEPA, to impose tariffs. So Chief Justice John Roberts wrote for the majority that the IEEPA contains no reference to tariffs or duties and that no president has ever read it to confer that power. Now, regardless of the merits or the demerits of the decision, obviously Thomas Alito and Kavanaugh are all saying, and I think rightly so, that it was a ridiculously flawed decision. Regardless, what the Democrats and legacy media missed in all of this is that a lot of Trump's tariffs were imposed outside of the IEEPA, using instead what's known as Section 232, the Trade Expansion Act, which he had already used back in his first term to impose steel and aluminum tariffs, and the Section 122 of the Trade Act, which allows up to 15% tariffs for 150 days to address international payment issues like trade deficits. And so when you go down the list, you'll find that roughly 30% of Trump's tariffs were imposed either by Section 232 or Section 122. So we're talking about 50% tariffs on steel, aluminum, copper, lumber, imported automobiles and parts. He's imposed broad tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars worth of Chinese imports and the like. And so in the dissenting opinion drafted by Justice Kavanaugh, that dissenting opinion basically gave Trump a roadmap for how all tariffs could continue unabated in such a way that the court would respect. And Trump didn't waste a second on that. Within hours of the ruling, he signed an executive order ending the IEEPA tariffs and simultaneously slapped a 15% global tariff under Section 122 of the Trade Act of 1974. Section 122, again, allows the president to impose tariffs of up to 15% for 150 days to address balance of payment problems. It's a bridge, right? It's a tactical pause button. It buys him 150 days while his administration launches new investigations under what's known as Section 301 as well as Section 232 that will result in permanent, legally bulletproof tariffs. And here's the beautiful part. Because the Supreme Court has now clarified the legal framework, no lower court can touch him. So if some activist judge in some liberal district tries to block a Section 232 or 301 tariff, the government cites the Supreme Court's own opinion, and it gets laughed out of court. Trump even pointed out another angle the court didn't think about: licensing power. The court they said that Trump does indeed have the power under IEEPA to regulate importation. He just can't charge a tariff. Okay, fine. So instead of a tariff, he can use licensing requirements to make it impossible for certain countries to do business here. So he can squeeze them without charging a single dime. And it's 100% legal. The court basically said you can blow up the bridge right from Canada to Detroit to stop what's coming in. You just can't charge the toll. Okay, fine. If the bridge is blown up, you don't need a toll. And then this is the part I absolutely love. Trump issued an ultimatum to the entire world. Any country that wants to play games with this ridiculous decision, especially those that have ripped off the United States for years and even decades, will be met with a much higher tariff and worse than that which they recently agreed to. Buyer beware. That's the President of the United States telling every single nation on earth, if you think this ruling is your escape hatch, you're about to find out how wrong you are.